Welcome everybody, and we're back for episode 18. Gang members, can they change? And today we'd like to say a big shout out to Telford, as we're here in Telford today. Whoop, 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 whoop. Right, so today we are with owner of New Generation F7, Ben Butler, on the show today.
Hello everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We've been so waiting forward for this episode with Ben, as he's been speaking and having a dialogue over a period of time. And today we're going to be speaking about, as we says, gang members and how can they change, will they change, or will they never change? This is the questions people wanting to know. So before we do that, I will pass you over to Zen, as you know, Zen's going to bring some a breath of fresh air and some enlightenment to your life today.
So you're full of compliments today, aren't you?
Oh, definitely, definitely.
So just want to say thank you for everyone that's listening. Welcome to our new listeners and welcome back to our frequent listeners. Thank you for all the support, and special thanks to those that have contributed to our comments and reviews on topics. The sponsors that help keep the mic on here at Vocal Rogue are a few that you've heard before, so we're just going to discuss those. So we've got LA Games, who's offering gourmet healthy food packs, jam-packed with flavour and nutrients, because nobody said they ate too much clean food. T2 is a new sponsor, so welcome to T2. We're very thankful for them jumping on board at this time of the year. It is tea season, so go and check out their store in Bullring for a discount if you show that you've subscribed. We've got our current sponsors from McCann in Birmingham, which is a beautiful Syrian restaurant for foodies who love tasty food and a sit-down meal. So just treat a loved one maybe over this winter. And King's Lounge Shisha in Birmingham. As we've spoken about, it is cold in the UK at the moment. We all can't avoid it, but it is a perfect place to socialise. You got warmth, you got good vibes. Go and check them out for 10% off as well.
Yeah, so this is what we're doing. Like we said, we're working with our peers and people around us to try and help back out the community. I do think it's everybody's responsibility to help out in the community that we have today. There's so much dramas and tribulations that we're going through. And if you've been through a tribulation yourself, why not help the neighbour next to you that's going through the same tribulation? We need to start working together now, because as you can see, governments have got other things on their mind and other matters, and we want to just leave it to us trying to look out for each other between us. It does work, and I suggest people need to buy into this, because we're just moving into that era of where we're going to have to start looking out for each other. It's getting tight out there, and it's going to only get tighter as it's been proven. So today we do have our colleague and our new associate, who's going to be eventually our new associate, is going to be Ben. So Ben, thank you very much.
No worries. So my name's Ben Butler from New Generation Coaching, from Telford. It's been a long journey. I'm so glad here to be with Vocal Rogue. Let's get this going.
Yeah.
Cracking.
This is something we've been trying to get through for a long time, because we need to highlight these things.
Man.
So the first question I would probably ask you today, Ben, is because you've been through such trials and tribulations in your life and ups and downs, as we've spoke previously.
Yeah.
I would like to get people to understand, yes, I was never a gang member, but I was doing the same stupidness as gang members, because we do this as teenagers.
Yeah,
we do stupid things, and I want everybody to understand second chances do exist and people do grow up. So I would like to know, what made you get into gangs?
See, right, it's weird, yeah, because the word gang, yeah, I struggle with. It's not something that I sort of, it doesn't sit well in my stomach. I was basically a troubled teenager. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like my troubled past led me into finding some role models which I thought were positive, but ended up being negative. Don't get me wrong, I have got still some of them people around me, but they've ended up turning into positive role models. Do you know what I mean? So it's been like, it was grooming. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is.
People knew that I was going through shit in my
sorry about the swearing.
In my estate, in my estates, and they knew that I was getting into trouble. But at the same time, there was like a football firm in Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
So if they could see that there was a bit of a little mad head
in there.
in the estate, they've taken that little lad and said, do you know what? Why didn't you come and do the football and stuff? Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't just the estates, it was like part of the football hooligans.
And I'm going to quickly add into that quickly. Yes, it was, because I went through the same thing. It went into the football hooliganism, and that's where it started from. They could see somebody troubled, and they're going to use you to their own benefits as well.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask you, so obviously there's a fine line between the grooming aspects, the gang, and then the feeling of a brotherhood or a family or a refuge from the turmoil that you normally going on at home as well. So what kind of vulnerabilities that did you think you shown for them to kind of peek it out on you as to approach you, basically?
That's a good question. It's quite hard to answer that.
Yeah.
Only because a lot of them knew I had a lot of domestic abuse that was going on in my family and all that, and I think they obviously knew about that, but at the same time, some of these people that were grooming me were only in their like late teens, early 20s. Do you know what I mean? So they probably didn't know they were grooming me. Do you know what I mean? So they were just thinking, oh, there's Butler there, and he's a bit of a like a wanna like.
He's a mad head. Let's get him in.
Yeah, he's down for it. So let's get him on board, sort of thing. And I don't actually think they knew what they were doing.
And I'm gonna agree with that as well. At that age, you don't know what you're doing, but you're watching from somebody to learn. And you got to remember, it's in mankind's nature to be destructive at the same time. So it is kind of like a balancing act. So this is what I wanted to point out to make people understand that what leads to things. As me and you know, the environments you grow up in. Leads to your lifestyle choices in life, and you're going to make the wrong choices. I want everybody to know, and I always put my hands up to everybody, I was exactly the same, Ben. It started from the football, so I didn't really see it as grooming, because grooming wasn't such a big word and emphasised word as it is now. So that got me into, because of racism. Racism got me fighting. Then I just ended up in a world of fighting and going around doing stupid things, and I look at everybody and somebody could go to me, oh, I don't want to speak to you because you did that. And I'd say, fair play, not a problem, because I can't rule people's opinions. But then I would break that person down and go like, well, one, I've learned from my mistakes. It's understand having a go at me, but if I didn't learn from it, slap me about, do what you want to do. But if I've learned from it, you should not be holding me down any longer. This is what I mean? And this is what happens when you go through crime or you do things like this. It will come back to haunt you at a later date when when you're living in a life and you're being an adult and you're not a little kid. So I want people to understand, when you're childish, you do childish things, and when you become an adult, you throw down childish things and you become an adult. So that means second chances. People, please be loving second chances. So I want people to understand why we're doing this episode today and why we're trying to highlight this so much, because it's such a big thing. I would like to ask you, because we've talked about you leading up to being groomed. Then what was your upbringing like? Because that's got to lead to something to lead to where you was. So what was your upbringing like?
From what I can remember, before this person got involved with my mum, it was a happy childhood. And my mum was a single mum, raising a black child in Shrewsbury, which is predominantly white. And she struggled, from what I've heard, in terms of she was abused by people on the streets and that. This is a late 80s, early 90s, do you know what I mean? And this is in a town down the road from here, which is like a white town, and she raised me up. She went to university. I lived at my nan and granddad's while she was at university, and then she met some bloke. I'm not going to say his name, but they ended up getting married. They ended up having a son, my half brother, and drink was involved. She was away a lot of the time. He used to drink a lot, and he used to beat me, and it wasn't slaps or anything, nothing like that. It was,
what was it? Let them know what it was like.
It was like stamps on the head, punches in the face, and then they used to fight each other. So I used to watch them beat each other up. I used to put my little brother into my bed and stuff, because he used to wet the bed and that. And then my mum started laying her hands on me. She tried drowning me in the sink. volleyed my head against the bathroom door. And it was sort of like an everyday thing, and then and that's when I started sliding off, do you know what I mean? And then I started smoking weed and that. And then it was then I started turning, so the boot was on the other foot then.
Yeah.
As I was getting older, I was just getting angry, do you know what I mean? I was getting racial abuse in and out of school, I was getting beaten up outside school. Like I was getting bullied at home, so everywhere I was going, I was getting bullied.
You're just getting it from all directions.
Yeah.
And I would like people to understand. Just put yourself in Ben's shoes. If you was getting as a young kid, where your brain's is not mature, and you're getting hammered from every angle and every left side, so whether it was racialism, whether it was the grooming, whether it was seeing the domestic violence, whether he was getting abused from his mum's partner and so forth, you put yourself in that shoe straight away from now and tell me how you would have lived the rest of your life. I want you to people to understand this as well.
Yeah, so what it sounds like is that so as we mentioned, the environment had a significant impact on you, but I feel like if that story got told in this day and age, the person would have crumbled and potentially committed suicide or something around that. And the reason I'm saying that is because there's an increase in child suicide by at least 50%, and it was 300% 2 years ago. There's more children doing suicide pacts. So what I want to put to you is, although you probably didn't see it at that point, that was a strength. That was a strength to keep going though, because you didn't even have an outlet, a healthy outlet at that point. So do you even recognise the strength you had at that age and all that was going on?
No, not really. I did self-harm, and it was minor self-harms with because I used to cut weed. It was resin back in the day.
Yes.
So I used to cut it up, like self-harm a little bit then. Don't get me wrong though, there was times when I had good times with my mum and all that, but it's still a struggle now because she denies everything that's gone on. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, I do get that I was probably stronger. I get told this all the time that I'm stronger than I actually am, but I don't ever
I feel
believe
like you
in
don't
that.
believe it.
Yeah.
That's the moment. I met you today,
Can
it
you-
just seems like you don't believe it.
Can you relate to that, what you just said?
Well, this is why I probably picked up on it, because that's the first thing Rug said to me when I first got approached to join the podcast. Is like, obviously giving my backstory. If you listen to previous podcasts, you would have heard from the grief podcast when I first started that there was a lot of turmoil in my family, and the thing is, I also dealt with alcoholism. So you know, when you're saying your mum kind of denies it, half it's because they actually black out as well when you're in that severe state.
Yeah.
When you then go to them, oh, do you remember doing this yesterday? No recollection, and some of it's a lie because you feel guilty. You're not going to admit it naturally as a human, and some of it you genuinely don't remember, and that's just the destruction that alcohol can do. Like, I think people underestimate it because it's legal.
Yes.
It's okay, but it's in moderation, because alcohol can change a person in 2 seconds.
course,
yeah.
And you know, when you look in their eyes, and the eyes have gone.
Yeah.
The alcohol's taken over.
Yeah,
It's
man.
horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people that's listening to this and going through, like, with, you know, the alcoholism part of things. Trust me, I didn't have alcoholism in my family, but I had lots of friends and people around me that were like that. And as you know, you can't work with somebody who's alcoholic.
In denial,
Because
basically.
in denial, you can't work with them. So when you're telling them, "I'll keep quiet," because we're trying to get in, they're shouting above. So you can't.
Being extra.
No. It's because you can't work with them, and alcoholism for me is a big no. I don't really like alcoholism. I'd even say to people, if they're alcoholic, I'll move away from them because I know I'm going to say something back. So I just move away and keep it, because of alcoholism, I hate it. And I'll tell anybody that, because it's got too much negativity that comes with it. Right, so let's get back into it, Ben.
Yeah.
So to circle back before you start, that we are going to make sure that by the end of next year, you do believe the strength that you've got. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, you will know.
Me and Ruggs will tell you.
Yeah, we will lead you up to that.
Day,
This is one thing. This is why I want people to understand. They need to buy into. We have to help each other out. We're all going through the same tribulations and dilemmas. Some different than others, but let's help the ones that. If I went through it, I want to help that person out of it that's going through it.
Yeah.
Let's start helping each other. Yeah. And like on Vocal World, we've proven this, and we're not going to stop proving this, that if you work together, you're going to get bigger gains. And I'm going to keep shouting this till the cows come home, until everybody gets it into their brain that this is the new way forward.
I should have put a moo in there, but I won't.
So, right. So, like he says, you went in, you seen your parents going on, you went through all these trials and tribulations, and you're growing a little bit older, and now you're getting yourselves into predicaments, just like I did, like a lot of million kids did as well, male and female.
Yeah.
Right. So, he was affected by all these things. What happened, I would say, at the time, did you see that you was being affected? Did you see? Did you actually? Because you live in it. So when you're living in things, you don't see it in the inside, but when you're outside looking in, other people can see it openly.
If I seen someone now, yeah, and I seen me now, then I would have been like, I would have like taken that kid aside. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, and this is the reason why I want people to understand second chances do exist, and I will not stop promoting second chances, because I've had second chances in my life where I didn't believe I would have ever had them, and then I could have fell off the way by the track. I could have probably come a bit more violent, because I'm not seeing no outlet, because you need outlet where there's anger. There has to be an outlet.
Yeah.
If you're going through these kind of pressures, there needs to be an outlet. Them days, they weren't recognised in the late 80s and 90s. It wasn't recognised. ADHD, when we were kids, was a slap on the ass because it didn't recognise it was ADHD. So nowadays, this is why I say to people, come out, tell people how you're feeling, let's speak more, because I believe holding all these pressures in adds more to your destructive and your downfall.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, but I do feel like I had a social worker at school, and like I've only reconnected with him literally the past 6 months. It's mad how we connected, but it's, again, my mum still denies it, but he's now he has come to me saying, Ben, I was your old social worker.
Wow.
And we've connected, but he said to me when he come into the school and all that, I did not engage with him whatsoever. I would not he knew what was going on in my household. Yeah, he had police telling him that they have like inklings that there's domestic abuse and all that going on, but because I wasn't over the threshold, say I wasn't getting sexually exploited or whatever,
so forth,
or abused or whatever, that I didn't meet that threshold, and because my mum had played it down to my social worker, and I had sort of I didn't speak to him. He couldn't do anything about it, and I think it is hard for kids to open up.
It is. It's hard, especially when you're going through that. You feel isolated as a kid. If you had an adult mind, you'd open up, but as a kid, you feel isolated because your brain is not mature, so it tells you stupidity at the same time as well.
But I do think that, like, if you have someone in my shoes, or yourself, or someone else that has gone through certain experiences in life, and they are able to speak to these young people, I do feel like we've got more of a chance to get them to open up, whereas you ain't going to get some social workers that's got qualifications and got no life experience.
Yeah, got no kids, don't know nothing about kids, but telling you about kids and so forth,
Yes, and it's funny that you mentioned that. I showed Ruggs a picture earlier this week. I'll show you after the podcast.
Yeah, cool.
And it was basically me writing directly to a counsellor saying that I'm tired about talking about the same things the past. I don't feel like this is helping me. And what that showed me is I clearly couldn't relate to whoever I was talking to, and I felt like I was repeating myself. I was about 5 when I wrote that, right? So I'll show you. But what it is that, like you're saying, you can take your power back from your story. Your story is your power. The experience you get is your power, because it's exposing you to things that you can actually talk on.
Yeah. You
can talk about this. With domestic violence, I feel like that's definitely an area of criminal law that's overshadowed by women, like, a lot. If it's a woman that claims domestic violence, more than like they'll look into it much more than a man, and that's just me saying that from me actually looking at statistics when I was doing law. And it's just, I'm just so happy that you're speaking about it as a man, because there's so much stigma about it to say, even as a kid, men will still feel like they should have done something for their mum or X, Y, Z. No, you can't. You didn't have the capacity at that point. That's just the real life story of it. And the fact that you're speaking about it as a man, I think this is the conversation that definitely needs to be spoken about. In statistics, it will show men don't speak about it at all, and that's why women come up higher in the domestic violence numbers, because men are actually scared about talking about it.
No, because
So
you're going
the
to be seen like
subject
you're a little softy, or that you're
Yeah.
going to get some
Yeah.
rigmarole. They're going to say some things to make you lower you down, as they're saying. So it is true exactly what Zen is saying, and I know these statistics myself. Because a lot of men don't open up, and one thing Zen has praised me about, and this is something that people showed me, was to open up more about my emotions and feelings, and this is what causes the destruction of men, because they don't open up about their feelings, and they're holding the guard these negativities in till one day explode, ever murder somebody, or they do something absolutely outrageous and crazy that you would never have believed this person could have done that, but it's because you was holding in all the guilt, the hurt, the pain. You hold it all in.
Yeah.
This affects your mental health. People don't understand what affects your mental health. So for me, just hearing about what you're doing, I put my hands up to you, Ben, and say, you know what, I take my hats off to you, because
Appreciate
I
that.
didn't go through that with my parents. I had my parents by each other, left, right, and centre. I never had that pressure of growing up. I didn't have that, but I've got friends, and I always like to talk to people and find out how they went through life, to see how I had it better than them, then to say, oh, I'm moaning about this and this gives me moaning up. So
gratitude.
it gives me gratitude. And today, like Zen says, it is about opening up. And men, I'm going to just tell you all this, and this is something I had to learn. I was the same with you. I wouldn't speak about it because, one, I felt ashamed. Two, I felt somebody was going to derogatorise me because I say something derogative to me, because I opened up about my weak point, trying to make my weak point as if that's my failure. Now my weak point is what's got me to here today, what made us open vocal road, going around trying to help our communities. Yes, I went through some bad crap. Yes, I was a naughty child. Yes, we was fighting. We've all been through something. Everyone's here has got some negativity. But look at us here today. With all this negativity, we've got this passion trying to help the community.
Definitely.
So what the time when you were saying to me you're going through all this, what changed? What did you do to get away from all this? I can't even find a word for it, because it's so much enormous peer pressure, negativity. It's got so much added into it. What did you do, or what did you come to in your head to say, look, and you know what, I've woke up now, I need to get away from this situation I'm in. It's not healthy for me, it's not helping me. What happened there for you to change?
There's so
All
many
this stuff.
there is so many times where things changed, like where I said I had
Give us some examples.
Right, so when I left prison, I said to my mum when she picked me up outside prison, I said that I was going to join the army. She did not believe me. What for one second.
I wouldn't have believed you neither.
Nah. But for me, because I'm a determined person, because so many people doubted me in my life, I was like, do you know what? I'm going to do that. So like 7 years later, I had to wait obviously until my convictions were spent and that, and then there was a bout of depression as well inside there. So you have to wait an extra 2 years. So I then joined the army. But then, even in the army, because my mental health hadn't been
Straightened out or looked at,
restored. Again, I was violent in the army, so like I had used things on people. When I fell out with my wife, I'd found out that my ex-wife, I'd found out that she had been cheating on me with a friend of mine, and
that does not add to nobody's mindset.
No.
Yeah, not really trying to basically.
No, that's the opposite of the mindset.
And so then something vicious happened to that lad, and then again, when that happened, I was like, oh, I need to sort this out, man. And I was leaving in the army a year later, and I left the army, and then literally again it was. I thought, right, I'm going to go to CBT therapy and all that, because it, like, even in my relationships, we talk about domestic violence and all that, it started coming into my relationships. I was abused myself, and I become the abuser as well.
Yeah, it happened to me.
Which actually happens
it
a
happened
lot.
to me.
It
happened to me. It came because of what I went through. I brought domestic violence into my relationships and so forth. But I would say to anybody that says to people about domestic violence is a wrong thing, and I can say that to anybody. I went through it. I apologise for what I did, at the same time, and people don't understand. So, well, some people understand it. I apologise, but at the same time, if I didn't go through that, I would not be here today, sitting down trying to help people with the same things that I went through. So I think it's a big thing when people wake up and realise where things are. So you went into the army. What happened? Because he said you had a bad time because the mindset wasn't straight.
Yeah.
What happened when you came out the army? What did you think? You know what? Did you think I'm going to go back home? You know what? Or do you think I'm going to fly around the world? Or what happened then?
Okay, so I had bumped. A friend of mine had bumped into. A friend of mine got in contact with me, and she said, "You need to meet this person," and I don't think she minds me that I'm going to talk about her. But I got introduced to this woman called Rebecca Blount from Recharge in Telford, and
Very nice woman.
yeah, absolutely amazing.
She is.
She felt that I was going to have this connection. My friend thought I was going to have this connection with this woman, and that she was going to put me on this right path.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, as soon as I met this woman, it was like, bam! I've met like the person that I wish. Well, I can't say wish, but it would have
hoped.
Yeah,
is the word.
Hoped that that she could have, that she maybe could have been my mum. Like that's how.
Because you need to point to something.
Yeah. That's
don't
how
get that part twisted.
I look at her now, and she's helped me. And from there, I'd started doing volunteer work for her.
You've been doing it for quite a bit. You've been doing some work with her for quite a bit
Yeah,
of time. I noticed.
Yeah. So when did I leave the army? Start 2016, and literally in February 2016, I was doing volunteer work. But whilst I was doing that, I was seconded from the army for Help for Heroes, and I was doing work for the Prince's Trust.
Do you see that the person that says I had a bad time being in the army is the same people that are helping him out. So this just goes to show sometimes when you think somebody ain't going to help you out, there is somebody there. And want everybody to understand that's going through these same things. There is actually somebody there. It may not seem like it, but you do have to do your part as well to make that happen. So that means you do have to open up and speak to some people sometimes, even if you don't want to. I know it's your hardest thing you could ever do because I went through it myself, but you have to start learning to put one feet in front of the other to get this motion going. So Rebecca Brown, Recharge Telford. I'm bigging that up myself personally. Whoop, whoop. No, she's absolutely a brilliant woman, and she does brilliant things. And this is why we do Vocal World, because we want to work with these people that want to help to make a change. I'm not trying to be rude to anybody because I'm not a rude person. But doing things like this, you meet people that don't really want to help, so it takes you out of what you're doing. So I just want to emphasize to people that we really want to help the people that want to help as well. We want to work together. I think working together has proven that things happen. We have to start doing it. So you came at the army and so forth. Did you do anything else after you met Rebecca? Sorry, did you do anything to try and help yourself? And what I'm trying to point out is, like, did you go around the world? Did you go anywhere else? What did you do? Because something else had to add up to that.
Yeah. I went to live in I went to Thailand, but I went to Thailand before I went to the army. Mm-hmm. So back in 2011, it was 2011/2012. There was a bit of a rough time. The mother of my twins, me and her had fallen out, and it was a bit of a tough time at that point. And my friend was murdered, and my granddad passed away.
So this is all adding on top of your stress that you're already going through.
Yeah. So people don't understand. Some people would relate to this. So my parents, one of my parents was in prison, and the other parent I'd had no sort of connection with due to the stuff that had gone on when I was a teenager and up into my 20s and that. So the only parents I had were my grandparents, so they were my mum and dad.
Yeah.
So when he went, even losing. In fact, I lost two friends. I lost a friend through epilepsy. He come out of prison and died through epilepsy. Yeah, and then my other friend got stabbed up, and then my cousin hung himself in prison, and this was all in the space of about 6 months to a year. And I sort of was like, do you know what, I can't deal with this, and I literally gave my mate my card, my phone. I went to McDonald's. I said, book me a flight to Thailand, and I went. To be fair, the mother of my twins gave me the opportunity, and she says, look, you need to go and sort your head out, sort of thing. And
Good move.
yeah, it was a good move from her, and it was a good move from me. But again, because of my mental health and because of me being angry and not being able to deal with things, I was an absolute tearaway in
But I want people to understand, yes, you were a terror, and yes, you was probably a pain to people, maybe, if that's the right expression. But believe it or not, even though we didn't set you to today, that was actually part of your therapy.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was. It was like...
You had to get it out your system.
Yeah, and I seen a country that... Forget Thailand. Thailand's a very commercialised country, like Bangkok and all that.
Yeah.
But when I went on to Cambodia, and that's where I spent the majority of my travelling time, was in Cambodia. Seeing stuff over there is absolutely like, excuse me, you can't fathom what, like, you couldn't believe what you would see over there.
Why was that? We'll be saying that because I always say this, because in England we're pampered.
We are very
and then
much
over and then when you're in those countries that haven't got the needs and the facilities that we've got, it makes you wake up to what you really have got. Would you say that?
Yeah, definitely. And I tell you what, the hostel that I was staying at, and no word of a lie, we go out of the hostel, and like you got a proper police station in it.
Yeah.
Around England. Their police station was made with 2 bamboo sticks, with a sign which we worked out that had police on it. Which,
sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but I just made me laugh.
And there was no side doors, there was no doors, there was just 2 bamboo sticks with a thingy and a couple of scooters on the sand, and you just see goats and cows walk through it. Do you know what I mean? And you got the Cambodian killing fields, where hundreds of thousands of kids and women and children were raped and murdered and killed. But then back then you could go and kill a cow with an AK-47 once you've done your Cambodia visit.
And this is the
madness.
thing. So I want to ask, because your time in Cambodia, now I want to put it like this: you're going through your trials and your tribulations in your own life.
Yeah.
Now you've gone to some different country you've never been before, different lifestyle, different food, different cuisines, different everything, basically. And then now you're going through the tribulations of domestic violence, from seeing your parents yourself, the violence and so forth. Did going to Thailand and seeing how they lived, considering what you're going through and your experience of what you're going through, when you went to Thailand and seeing how they lived, do you think seeing that helped to change your perception and your mindset?
Yeah, do you know what? I think even when I was getting involved in what I was getting involved in, I still had that sense of, I had that morals, I still had that sense of, I had my morals and appreciation and that.
Sorry about that, that was the doorbell. That's okay.
I get it, yeah.
So people, like I said, this just shows you, that you can go through a hard thing in your life, but there is help there. So like he says, Rebecca helped him. This is something we're going to be moving to forward, because everybody can help everybody, and this is what I'm pointing out. Everybody needs to start helping everybody. We're not going to get through it individually on our own. So, like I said, you'd seen the change of people living in Cambodia, and like I said, did this help to change your mindset? Yeah. Even though you was changing it beforehand, but everything adds to everything.
Yeah, of course.
Was it helping to see what they went through to what you're going through, so you can, you can see what they're going through, see what you're going through, and like add up things and relate things?
Yeah, I couldn't. The life that they were going through, I don't think anyone in England could compare themselves to them.
We couldn't handle it. We couldn't handle it. Every too pampered.
And some of the stuff that we go to prison for, just like that, you don't go to prison for things like that. It's the normality, and it was a very big It was an eye opener. Trust me, it was an eye opener.
Yeah, it is, and I'm saying to any, I know a lot of people have been to these places and seen, and they've seen for themselves that everything changes. You know, a lot of people go there for fun, but a lot of people go there to actually help and be like Samaritans to the country and so forth, and I like stuff like that.
Yeah, so what it sounds like is that although all this was going on, you was very aware that every time you were in an issue, the environment wasn't helping from when you was younger. So you now moved yourself into the group to the your friends and that, which obviously didn't happen to be great friends.
Yeah.
That was moving. Then you moved again, and you was living with your grandparents and all this. And you moved again and you ended up in prison, another completely different environment. Then you moved again and moved to army, another different environment. Then you moved again and travelled. So do you see that you actually could see each environment, you kind of tried it out and was like, nah, this ain't working for me. And you inevitably got to the point where you've now found refuge in Rebecca.
Yeah.
And that was now an environment where you've been like, okay, this might work.
Yeah.
So although all those trials and tribulations you was going on, it was all a very much cohesive journey that you still could realise this ain't for me each time. So that's something that you need to realise you've learnt as well.
That's mad you said that, because I actually, even before that, I moved to Ireland as well, like in that time. Yeah, because my dad.
Go on, it's alright, go ahead. See, we do apologise. He's busy, so we're, like I said, we're all the way over here. It's Christmas time, and these things do happen. So you can see
Business never stops.
business never stops, and this is his business home that we're at today. So this is the things that people need to wake up and take a view. We are going to go through life tribulations, and it's going to feel like that nothing's ever going to happen and nothing's ever going to change, but please be patient.
Yeah, definitely.
Be patient.
Be patient with yourself as well. I feel like humans generally think that they need to be perfect at everything at a specific time. Listen, we're all going to have problems. We're all going to do the wrong things. That's how you learn. That's what children do. They fall over first before they walk.
Right.
So take that pressure off yourself when you can feel that you're actually trying. At least if you're trying to do the right thing, you can say you're trying.
I believe if you're trying, you want to step forward.
Steps forward.
Because if you don't try, then how can you move forward if you don't try? So, like we're saying, no, that's okay. That's not a problem. This is how we do. This is how it works. We'll go to anywhere and we'll do anything. We want to do our part to help. So, like he says, you'd gone to Cambodia, you'd come back and you'd gone around in other places. But then I want to pick up to now move a bit more forward.
Yeah.
You met Rebecca.
Yeah.
So for me, and been speaking to you, Rebecca was that long lost thing you've been looking for such a long travel, high roads, low roads. Yeah, you went around the world. No, I would say exactly like that. Say the truth. You went around because you ran to get away from the pressures to try and find yourself. You still didn't find yourself. You went everywhere, and then you went in the army. You done, and you came back home, and then you found Rebecca, which is kind of mad. So you went around the world to come back, and found Rebecca.
No, I wouldn't even say it was finding himself. I'd say he was trying to find home. He was trying to find home again. You had that essence of home when you was a child, and you're just basically trying to find that again, which we're all trying to do.
We all
find
do.
That warmth, and it's nice.
And you do it in your adulthood as well.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is what the younger generation. I feel like this is what they're struggling to find. Because they don't think they've got any hope. They don't think they've got anywhere to go, or they might not have parents. They might be in care, or they might have foster parents, or they might be living with their grandparents, but at the same time they think their peeps are their positive role models, but really deep down they know. I know for 100% fact they know deep down that what they're doing or what they're feeling is not good, and they want that love. They want that. They want that.
They all want the love, and this is why they go off the path, because they have they rebel, because rebelling is part of wanting something. And I rebelled. I rebelled as a kid, even though I had my mum and dad. I rebelled. I think every kid rebels because it's you change from youth from kid to adulthood, and that does affect you. From going through the change, it affects everybody. You can feel embarrassed with it because your armpits stink, or
I remember that.
All them ones, and female have different things and so forth. So yes, it's that life turning curve, and if you haven't got the right people around you, it can turn you to take your life. I'm going to say a girl, and I really love this girl. Her name was Cheryl Baker from Smethwick when I lived in Smethwick, and she was being bullied at school. This girl could have been probably easier top model. She was so pretty, green eyes, everything, and she ended up hanging herself off the balcony where everybody could see her hanging, and that's how I saw her out my window hanging from a balcony. So I want people to understand. It seems like there is no end of no road when you're in it, and I'm going to tell you from experience. There feels like there's no road and there is nobody to help you. But then this is why we're doing the things we're doing, because we've seen there was a missing point where the government wasn't helping, even the council and so forth wasn't helping, and we've bridged that gap. So now I've noticing with the voluntary sector, they're now the go-to people now. Because I don't know what it seems like. It's like people can relate to them and feel like you're a normal human being, you're listening to me and so forth. So any kid, even adults, if you're going through something like that, give Roka a shout. If you believe that you're in the Telford area and surrounding areas and you believe your child could get the help from Ben, then contact us. We'll put all our details up for Ben on the site so you can get directly to him. We want to start highlighting Telford and other surrounding areas. It's not just Telford, it's not just Birmingham. We're going to be highlighting all areas to give that help.
Yeah, so moving towards the end of the podcast, I just wanted to kind of spin it, because you know me, I'm on the positive zen. So I want to just spin it and just say, inevitably what I've learned is love heals everything. So Rebecca obviously exuded this aura of love and warmth to now bring you into a completely different person, and obviously that's what you're doing as coaching as well, showing that warmth that you're saying we're all looking for. So although no one likes to show love nowadays for some reason, it will win. It does win.
It does.
It does win people over. It changes people, and I feel like people that are brought up in a bad situation, the difference between people that are brought up in bad situations is the ones that are in it but have got surrounded by love, they'll probably cope better and they'll probably have healthy outlets to deal with it better. The ones that are not surrounded by love at those crucial times, now you're spiraling out of control because you haven't got that direction and warmth.
Now you're seeing the day of today.
Yeah, exactly, because even the person that can be hurting you, they can hurt you, but if they love you and you genuinely know they love you, so let's talk about the alcoholism, let's say. If you can feel that love, you kind of just give them a blind, just be like, you know what, I know you as a person, and you can kind of get over it. But when you don't even feel love, that's why it's hard to repair all the trauma that you go through, because you're just like, not only did you put me through that, you didn't even show me anything back anyway to acknowledge the issues you've caused.
And I'm going to drop a question quickly to Ben. Ben, so like I said, you've been through the tribulations, everything. Why did you open New Generation?
The reason why I opened, there's many a reason. Rebecca was another one reason, because
let's hear the reasons. So I want people to understand, Ben, is yes, I was on the wrong side of the track, you was, but so was another 3 billion people as kids, so we're all in the same boat. So what would you say?
So when I first met Rebecca, she had a little office in Telford, and she was like, she was doing this, doing that, and I could see how hard she was working, and I just felt very inspired by her. And she was reaching out to these kids in Telford and that. And then she spoke to me, she's like, Ben, you could be doing this, do you know what I mean? She goes, I believe in you, I know you've got something in you that you can do. And then it sort of stuck in my head. But then I started working with looked after children, so my other job was working with kids in care, in residential setting. And then I was like, I've got 4 days off. I do 2 days on, 4 days off, and I'm like, what am I doing in them 4 days? Do you know what I mean? I said, I go to the gym, I'm with my family, and me and my partner sat down, and I was like, do you know what? She was like, you've got a personal training qualification, you've got experiences involving knives. You've been stabbed, you've been through domestic abuse, you've been through the racial abuse, you've sort
been
of got,
through the mill.
Yeah, you sort of you can tick quite a few boxes. So what? Yeah, exactly. Why don't you put that to something? And I invited someone from the Band of Brothers to come round to see me because I needed some help with something, and he had opened his own business up. You know them gaming vans?
Yeah.
So you see the kids go on the thing and they can play on the Xbox.
Yeah.
He owns that.
Like a youth bus thing.
Youth bus, yeah, he owns that. Yeah. One in Stafford and that. And so he spoke to me and he said, why don't you do this, why don't you do that? And my missus was on to me about it, and I was like, do you know what, let's do it. And the thing is, my passion is kids, do you know what I mean? Like,
mine is.
I know, and I don't like working with adults. Yeah, I love working with the younger generation, and I just feel like the reason why I'm doing this is because I wasn't given the support, and that I want to give that support back to them, to show them that if you ain't getting love off someone else, I'll show you that love, and I'll push you forward. You get me?
And this is exactly what we deal with. I believe in youth. Zen knows this. I believe it's about the next generation. I believe in adults. You've had your times. Let's start looking out for the kids, because adults are adults. I've always had this thing about adults. You know how to look after yourself now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kids, they don't, and kids always need that nurturing and that connecting and that guidance.
Yeah.
And I see so much around with friends and people I've met over my lifetime. I've met millions and millions of people, Ben, trust me. And I see everybody's lifestyle, and I've heard all of their stories and trials and tribulations. And I know one thing that they've all said back to me is it can change, and it changes by working together. So you've been through a trial and tribulation, I've been through trials and tribulation, Zen's been through trials and the whole world does. So why can't we, as the people that's been through trial and tribulation and know what it takes to make that change, and knows what's needed, what we didn't get, why can't we make that change? That's exactly what you're doing now.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Volker Road does, LA Gaines, T2, we're all trying to help back, and McCann's and King's Lounge, and everybody's trying to give something back. So all your people that are trying to give something back to these users today, trying to make a change for the next generation, and you believe that you don't know what you're doing, or you don't know the next step forward, I endear you to give us a call.
So I just have a quick question, because we do have a lot of parents that listen. So just a top tip, if you're seeing a child, what kind of things do you recognise when somebody's like maybe withdrawing from talking to you, or is there any signs where you can see you need to go and talk to them and sit them down, maybe set them to the side?
I don't know whether it's a psychology thing, because one thing I did in prison, which I did well, it was mad. I did a psychology test.
Okay.
And I got like 98% of it. I just thought it was easy. I was like writing all this thing down.
You were just going to bypass that, was you, earlier? Yeah, literally.
Did it surprise you?
Yeah, I was well surprised, and it was Alwyn, who's my teacher, science teacher or psychology teacher or whatever at Stoke Heath, and I did this random test, and he was like, Ben, you've got some know-how on psychology. So I think, I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet.
No, don't blow it, brother. Blow it. Blow it. Blow it.
But I feel like I just generally sense where there may be something
that you could do.
It's like an intuition, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Like
like a feeling. Something come over you, tingle even.
And maybe it's that feeling because it's happened to me.
Yeah.
And I can completely
relate to it.
Get drawn and relate to it.
Yeah.
If there's, like I've spoken to before we started the podcast, if there was someone that was involved in certain things that I can't deal with, like CSE and all that, I wouldn't know like how to approach it, or even look at a child and think, oh, I think they might be. Do you know what I mean? Obviously now with the work that I do, I think with the training that I've had, I can sort of spot kids that have got something.
Yeah, and this is the thing. That's why I always say this saying, and I know what kids go through. Sometimes adults forget they were kids. Sometimes.
Yeah, of course we do.
The kid needs loving and nurturing. Yeah, and when the kid's going through, example, bullyism, racism, I'm going to tell you from now, bro. They're not going home to mum, and they're not telling mum.
No.
Yeah, right. This is why my friends and a lot of us have had this conversation. I would prefer if my kid was going through, I'm going to just say it like bullying, for example's sake, and my kid is not going to come to me. Yeah, because this is just the normal of how it works. You ain't going to go to your parents. You're going to collide and talk to somebody totally different. So if my child couldn't come to me, yeah, and I'm going to feel hurt, my child couldn't come to me, I'd rather my child came and spoke to you.
Yeah.
My child couldn't speak to you, I'd rather my child came and spoke to Zen. If he couldn't speak to Zen, spoke to somebody else who we know. That child, I will say to that child, don't go to your parents. Parents, I know you're going to kill me for this, but don't go to your parents. Because it's the hardest people to approach is your parents. Not dissing you as parents, but this is just how kids feel.
And I feel, sorry to butt in, but I feel like me as a parent, I think I'd handle, if my daughter come up to me and say she's bullied, I think I'll handle the situation.
It's totally different. You're going to be, as a parent, you're going to get irated straight away. So I always say, like this, if my child went to Ben and told Ben, Ben's going to come and tell me, so I'm going to know either which way. This is why I prefer them to go to somebody and at least open up to somebody rather than not have that option.
Yeah.
Because if you ain't got that option, it leads to more drastic and dreadful things. So kids, go to anybody. Even if you decided you needed to phone us, you need to phone Ben. I don't care who it is. Just contact somebody.
What would you tell your younger self now then? So let's say about 15 years ago. What would you tell that person to who you are now?
If you could go back in a time machine.
Yeah.
If I could go back and if I was actually standing there speaking to
Speak to your
directly to your
16-year-old
older
self
self,
now.
yeah.
Your
I'd be saying,
16-year-old
come to
self.
me, man. Let me help you, because like I feel like I didn't seek any help whatsoever. I closed off, was shut down. So if I had the support like I have now and the people that are around me now, and that was there then 15 years ago, I'll be like, go and speak to these people, go and speak to Vocal Road, go and speak to Zen, go and speak to Bex from Recharge, you know what I mean? Go and speak to me.
Yeah.
So do you hear that, young people? Go to somebody, approach somebody. I think it's easy to speak to somebody you don't know when it's trials and tribulations like that. Because speaking to your loved ones, they react differently. But no, your parents are going to react different. So, example, you was being bullied, and I told my dad, God rest his soul, he's passed away, and I told my dad would be flipping his lid, and then he'd be going to another level.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? So parents will get angry when their kids are being manhandled or targeted or whatever. Yeah. So I say, don't go to the parents direct. Go to the auntie, the uncle, the friend, the cousin, the best friend, or go to somebody like that that's going to approach it differently and approach it more calmly when they're telling the parent, to make the parent understand. Because when you're going to tell the parent, they're going to be But if it's somebody older, they can more calm down and say like, Ben, come on man, I've dealt with it, calm down, listen, and be more realistically to help that situation and rationalise. So that's why I say don't approach your parents. I know it sounds bad saying that, and the parents will be angry at me saying, but they're supposed to be my first port of call. No, anybody's port of call as long as it saves your child.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the one. So what I want you to do now for me now is I want you to sell New Generation for me.
There you go.
Tell them where you are, where you're based, how they can get contacted with you. We will put it up on the site, people.
Okay, so I'm part of New Generation Coaching, which I said. I mentor kids that are disengaged in schools, education, PRUs, that are involved in knife crime, gangs, drugs. I do one-to-ones, I do talks and workshops around schools, conferences, social services. I also run boot camps at secondary schools around Telford, and you can find me on Instagram on New Generation Coaching. It's NGC, you'll see with the red letters. You can also follow me on Twitter, which is New Generation Coaching, but it's New Generation F7 on Twitter, and I'm also on LinkedIn on New Generation Coaching also, and that's where you can find me.
So all of you people that are around schools, social public places and so forth, here's somebody in your area of Telford and surrounding areas, Shrewsbury and so forth, that go and talk to him. Kids, if you're living in Telford, I suggest, and you're going through something, you're going through bad times, I always say to turn to somebody. Why don't you get in contact with Recharge Telford? They do absolutely brilliant, which Rebecca Brown owns. Absolutely brilliant. And then you've got the main man here, Ben, who is this is his job and his skill at looking after you young people, and you've got somewhere to turn. Don't go too far into negative where there's no coming back. Please turn to these people. We are here to help, all of us are. This is why we highlight this so much.
Yeah, and I would just like schools to start thinking about delegating your funding better into people like this that actually relate to the children
I agree with
you're
that.
trying to teach.
Yeah, I'm going to highlight that.
I personally know the person in my school that was dealing with counselling purely because they didn't go through certain things. They just couldn't handle the stuff I was saying in the right way. Like, they're getting upset. I'm like, you can't get upset about this. You need the positivity around you. So schools need to start thinking about the actual demographics that's in your school and whether the people that are around in your school relate to the children's demographics.
And this is the thing that you do need to relate. I had a friend cried one day to me, and social services got involved, and they were really going on a way that they need to understand it's the child keeping up the crap, and it wasn't the parent, and they went in on the parent really bad. And he says that he couldn't handle it because I've got this woman speaking to me who's never had a child, So she doesn't know how the child's going to be rude, disobedient, be naughty, need that loving, need that correcting. And he says, but I couldn't relate to the woman because she's never had a child. How can you be telling me how to grow a child when you've never had one yourself? And that is, for me, I'll say that to me. If they were speaking to me, I would lock them off straight away. I say, don't speak to me because I can't relate to somebody who hasn't had a kid. You're looking at it in a different light to what we actually, yes, totally.
You're actually withdrawn from the situation.
Exactly. Because you've never been in the source of the situation.
And that's why I did, like I said before, like my social worker, the geezer had no life experience. He come in in a suit. He didn't know what I was going through. Like he couldn't help me
because you wouldn't open up.
Fault.
Yeah, it's not his fault.
It's not his fault, and that's what I'm saying. The schools now need to invest to make sure if someone like that's there. Okay, I've got another person that actually you might relate to better.
We're not blaming anybody, and we're not having a go at anybody. We're just saying that we can come around it a bit better. There's 6 million ways to skin a cat, and not one way. So we're just trying to give choices here, because choices is always good with children. They work better with choices than with one choice. Give me one choice, and I can't work. I'm a person that always saw small. You know me, Zen. I saw more than one source because I believed I seen these things growing up. I didn't have these sources. And when I've got these sources, it helps me with what I'm doing. So this is what I'm trying to say to people: start working together. We can make the change if we work together. But if one's going to be just full of themselves and the other one's giving all, it's never going to work. So come on, man, it's give and take, give and take. So Ben, I'm going to get you to sign off today with this episode. If any child is going through what you went through in your lifetime, what would you say to them today as to regards to seeking help? Okay, so if any child that's going through anything, any sort of mental health, any sort of struggles within their homes, county lines, anything, if you feel like you can't speak to anyone, come and speak to these people, come speak to me, come speak to Vocal Rogue. Come and speak to Recharge Telford, go and speak to Samaritans, go and speak to Cams, go and speak to all these people that are open. We're not emphasising with everything. We can help with so much because we are skilled at quite a few things, but there's other companies out there that help. It's not just us. We want you to go to the people that are going to help you. And there's a big one, two friends of mine, very close friends of mine again, Smash Life UK, they're from the Shropshire area. And you'll get them on Instagram as well. You'll get them on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. They are two young men who have been in care, foster care, and now are doing mentoring and coaching for kids that are in care. So definitely go and shout them. They are really good guys. They have been through the mill.
I feel like kids in care definitely get overlooked a lot as well.
They always have done. It's not being overlooked. They always have and they always will do.
You don't see like the care homes and stuff, so you kind of, again, we spoke about ignorance is bliss. Because you don't see it. It doesn't register. They don't register. In homes, and these guys from Smash Life are one of the people that, like what we did said, we want to get them on the podcast because this is something that a lot of people are going through and they don't feel like they've got anywhere they can turn to, and this is the things that we're trying to highlight with the community and working with our peers and local businesses. And this is the thing that we're going to start doing, and people that we work with, even with yourself, Ben, we're going to start helping to work with people in your area, getting businesses to be on side, because I don't mean to be rude to business. I know it's your money and you made it, but you still have a duty, a care to the public as well, especially when they're making you rich by spending their money with you. So I do believe you do have a duty towards the community. So I would like to say to everybody, Merry Christmas for those who celebrate Christmas. For those who don't celebrate Christmas, I wish you all the best in your health moving forwards to the new year. I also just want to second that. I want to say just finish your year the right way. Spend it surrounded by love, spend it surrounded by laughter, try and find the positivity, finish your year on a high, because 2020 is yours for the taking, and that's anyone that's listening. Yeah. And what would you like to finish off with? Thank you. Do you know what I'm saying? So we'd like to say thank you very much. This is our last episode for 2019. Woo! But trust me,
2020, we have got so much things in for you at store. You need to go onto our website to check out, to get to our podcast, to get to anything else. Just go to our website and then bring it there.
I put you on the spot. You know what we should do? We should do a Christmas jingle for Vocal Road. 30-second Christmas jingle at some point.
Okay, should we do it now? Jingle bells, jingle on the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride and one on open sleigh. Oh, vocal road, new generation. Don't forget Win Telford with Recharge Telford. Hey. So thank you very much, people. Just a little bit of laugh for the Christmas festive season times. We'd like to thank you for following us and backing us and supporting us all over the world, all the way from America all the way to Australia. We'd like to thank you very much for supporting us. Hope you support us in the future. Tell your friends, tell your family everything about us and all the people that guest on our show, because they're doing such great things. And we will be back with you in 2020 January, where we're going to be coming with a big bang, and we have got so much in store for you. Don't forget, you can leave some feedback with us. Leave it at our email address, which is vocalrogue@hotmail.com, or you can get onto our website, which is vocalrogue.com, which is simple like that, or you can catch us on our Twitter, but just go to our vocalrogue.com and that will lead you to everything else on our social media sites and to everything else. So thank you very much for having us, and we wish you a happy 2020. Happy holidays. Boop, 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 boop. Bye.